Good morning students. In today's class we will be dealing about livelihood, and the tourists are also getting the cheap product. The people engaged in this sector produces simple utilitarian objects or the musical instruments, though they are not using any complex technology here. They does not have that particular working capital investment, or a huge investment is not there. So with the help of the techniques what they have followed for a longer time, they are producing certain items and they are putting it for the sale where the tourist will be attracted. So such things are also coming under the informal sector. Fixed capital need may be less, but the slow rate of turnover in the informal sector leads to the requirement of considerable working capital per unit of output. So once when you see, I am not using the technology to produce certain goods under informal structure, but what is happening? I am producing it continuously, but the slow rate of turnover is there, because in this business we cannot make huge investment. We are not producing it by the mass production methods. So the movement of the capital or the movement of the goods may be very slow in the informal structure, and because of that considerable working capital per unit of output may be more. So you have to understand this concept very clearly. To start an informal sector service, you no need huge capital, but the working capital requirement may be more because of the slow turnover. So you have to understand this. For that you can successfully run the informal sector business. It is estimated by NSSO that 84.7% of job in Indian economy are in the informal sector. You can see just vast amount of people, that huge amount of people, they are involved in the informal sector rather than in the formal sector. So by taxed here. So it becomes easy for the common man to think of any services has to be The Central Statistical Organization, Ministry of Planning, Government of India in 1983-84, hotel and restaurants cover the enterprise which provides. So we are going to see the main differences based on the data which is collected by the Central Statistical Organization, which comes under the Ministry of Planning. First one is the lodging services with or without arrangement for meals, other prepared foods and restaurants. That is, example, the hotels, the dharamsalas, the hotels provide lodging houses, etc. So once when we are collecting the data, we collect it and so we will see whether they are offering any food services or they have any arrangement for meals or provide the prepared foods and the refreshment from their outlets. So if they are providing it, then that comes under that particular lodging services with or without arrangement. So while collecting the data itself, we will see whether they have any setup for the preparation of food or whether they can provide the prepared food and refreshment through their outlets. So that falls under the lodging services. So while collecting the data itself, we used to collect these data so that it will be helpful for us for the analysis. Then second thing is eating and or drinking services such as prepared meals, food and refreshment, cold or hot drinks, etc. So restaurants, cafeteria, snacks bars and ice cream outlets, they comes under this particular thing because they provide the services which are related there. The meals are sometimes already prepared and that is being provided in the counter. So we used to calculate it under this eating or drinking services. So once when you collect the data, it will be very much helpful for us. We have to collect it meticulously so that we can help out in the differentiation whether that comes under the informal sector or whether it is to be decided as a restaurant or a lodge or any other things which comes under the informal sector. So now the enterprises are divided into three types, that also we are going to see. Own account enterprises, so here operate without the help of any hired workers. So suppose if I am involved, my family members are involved in that particular business. So we are calling it as own account enterprise. Here there is no involvement of workers. I am not hiring the workers or I am not keeping the workers from other than my family members. So I will be operating it with help of my family members. So we are not hiring anyone else from outside. So in that case, it will be called as own account enterprises. It will be operated by the family members. Either one or two will come together and they will be operating it. That comes under the own account enterprises. Second one is directory establishment, that is having 6 or more workers including both household and hired ones. Suppose if there are 6 people or more, that includes both they are hired or from the same household. So if it is there, that comes under the directory establishment. Then non-directory establishment, having less than 6 workers including both household and hired. So here that is less than 6, that comes under the non-directory establishment. If 6 people are involved and less than 6 people involved, they can be both hired or from that particular workforce. So it comes under the non-directory establishment. Then nature of informal structure, hotel enterprise which provide temporary lodging accommodation with or without arrangement for meals, other prepared foods and restaurants. So once again, the hotel, if you call it as a hotel, then that is also a temporary lodging or accommodation with or without the arrangement for meals, other prepared foods and restaurants. So their people will be providing certain accommodation facilities with or without arrangement of food. Food can be either prepared or it can be arranged from other places also. So there once again the difference is there. 88% of total establishment in the hotel and restaurant sector in the Indian economy belong to the informal sector. So if you consider the hotel or restaurant, it is an important part in the tourism industry, and in that 88% of that entire particular hotel and restaurant, it is coming under the informal sector in the tourism. So you can see the importance of the informal sector in the tourism business. Informal sector is predominantly in the restaurant business and marginally in the hotel business. So it is dominated in the restaurant segment and it is less when in compared to that of the hotel businesses. So then comes the productive capital, emoluments and profit. This is also very important once when you want to set up an informal sector. So how that is the productive capital, then emoluments and the profit. You should have a little bit idea about all these things. Productive capital is the sum of the value of fixed asset and working capital. What is then fixed asset? Fixed asset, an asset that is not consumed or sold during the normal course of business. For example, if you want to see the building, machinery, refrigerators, room cooling machines, then lighting equipments, furnitures and fixtures, then transport equipments, all comes under this particular thing. So you cannot sell this as a product during that particular business. Then what comes the working capital? What comes under the working capital? Money available to a company for day-to-day operation comes under the working capital. That is capital involved in stock of foods, drinks, crockery, etc. It will be coming or it will be calculated under the working capital. Informal sector enterprise have a low productive capital, that you have to understand. Here the working capital requirement will also be less because of the informal sector industry. Then emoluments, then the payment to the work in the form of money or something else of value, that will be coming under the emoluments. This includes the salaries, then the wages and the allowance, bonus paid, contribution to the social security, etc. comes under this particular emoluments. Then the profit, money that is earned in trade or business after paying the cost of production and selling goods or services, will be coming under the profit. So when you are in the business, when you have to idea how to calculate the profit, that becomes very important. Then only at the end of the day you can see that you have earned the profit or you have run into the loss. Then the differential probability between the formal and informal sectors is profit per enterprise is seen to rise with the amount of productive capital. In the formal sector has a high productive capital base. The productivity of labor is much higher in the formal sector rather than in the informal sector. So here you have to be very careful what comes under the profitability between the formal and informal sector, how to differentiate with the help of the productivity or the profitability. Then the capital labor ratio is higher in the formal sector, making it more capital intensive than the informal sector. Cultural division of labor is found in informal sector. Low status job are provided by those who termed as the socially inferior. So the main problem in the informal sector is the low status job are done by the people done is historically determined by the custom and it is unresponsive to the economic force. Even though the people are interested, they are willing, but they are not permitted because of such condition. Informal sector has become divided into self-contaminated segment and more competing groups of workers, non-competing groups of workers are there. It is all because of this particular issues. The informal sector, especially under the tourism businesses, are still lacking behind. So once when we want to develop tourism in the nutshell, then we have to think about the informal sectors. So that sector has to be given more concentration, more support, then only the people can do those businesses under the informal sector and can reap the benefit. So in concluding this, we have learnt about the types of activities, the nature of informal sector, the productive capital, emoluments and profit, the social factor in the informal sector. Thank you, student. Thank you very much.